talked about how then you can add or subtract word counts from some of your larger articles that will come later in the semester. So this is where this section kind of starts, and you'll see the big advances notice on the first page, and then there's usually a few in each fuller issue. And just because it's a smaller article doesn't mean you can't have big pictures, kind of organize it in a different way, think about how it's going to look, kind of catch the reader's attention, and even for this one, because all of the advances are in one section, think about what order they would go in and how you kind of create the look of that section with a bigger first article, a larger font in the beginning, and then as you go into the further advances, you kind of see that it's still noted up here, but not in the same way, just to kind of keep it grouped as a section. So on this page, you see there's two advances, fairly short. This one over here, I counted the words, total of 455 words. So that's something that you can think of, okay, that's not too far under, it's not too many more that I'll have to make up in the next one. You don't want to be adding words and get too wordy or too complex, adding things that aren't important if you can say it all more concisely. But you also don't want to cut out important parts too if further explanation is needed. So both are things to think about. If you look at this exoplanets one, and usually you'll just include one image with these to kind of give the reader some context about what you're talking about. But here you can also see that they have this little subsection here that would be something you could pull even from your summaries that kind of shows what the key point is, telling your readers, the main point, the overall importance of the article right away. And see, it's in a different font here. To kind of separate that. That's something that you can choose, that you can think about how that helps rhetorically your readers come to the article, have a greater understanding right from the beginning, and divide things up. Another thing to notice in this one, and the more of these advances you read, the easier it's going to be for you to write them, just because you'll see the different ways that they're bringing ideas in, that they're talking, the different organizations you can use. So definitely don't be hesitant to look at those and kind of steal some of those good habits or tactics that the authors are using. And so this one, you see it starts, the Himalayas distort Earth's contour only about as much as a human's hair would that of a billiard ball. So you can really think about this analogy, this comparison, because we can't really think about what the Himalayas look like on Earth. We can't always grasp that. That's much larger than a lot of the things that we can conceive of. So having something that anyone could conceive of, everyone is familiar with human hair, everyone knows what a billiard ball looks like. Those sorts of things can really help readers say, okay, this helps me gain some perspective here. Another thing that you want to keep doing throughout is making sure that your articles answer that so what question. Tell your readers why they should care. Your readers should care about this one, for example, because they want to know if other planets can hold life and what that would mean for us. So even asking it in a question like this is a way that you can bring that information in without it being too overwhelming or too awkward or out of place, but really letting them know that this is something that's important, that you think is important. And then if you look at these two, you can see how many sources they're using. So even though you are only required to have one academic source for this article, that doesn't mean you can't find other sources to enhance it or make connections. In this case, there was one empirical study that they took, so one research that they looked through the methods and the data, and then a couple other scholarly sources where they talk about professors and their opinions of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those opinions came from an empirical study or something from a peer-reviewed journal, but it could have come from their response to it in a newspaper, on a podcast, in an interview. So know that all of those sources are available to use as well, especially to make greater connections and kind of create a conversation between some scientists to show what people in different locations think about the study that you're talking about. This is another great example of looking at how you can bring in information. How do you cite things in these articles? And it's very different than we're used to because we're not using MLA or APA. It's journalistic citation. So you see how much information you try and bring in to really show that it is a credible source. talking about the dates, where they're from, what university they work at, really explaining what was in the articles that you're reading, so summarizing them, their methods, their data that they're using, and their findings. All of that will help to cite the source in a journalistic way, but it will also help to enhance your credibility as a writer because it shows that these sources are something that have been recently discovered, recently conducted by experts in the field, and that either other people agree or disagree in various locations, but that you're helping them gain a greater picture of this topic, this conversation of what's going on. Then here's another one. This is the longest advance that I saw, and it was 703 words. So when you look at these, I hope that it's showing you that these aren't supposed to be huge first drafts. They're really going to be about 1 page single spaced for this first advance. So hopefully that helps take some of the stress out of it. And you don't have to format them yet. You don't need to have them in columns or have pictures at this point. We're really just drafting, trying to get the words out on the page, making sure that we're explaining things to everyone, that we know who our readers are, and that we know why this is an important topic to be writing about. So hopefully these will help give you some further ideas. And I will post this full issue with some of my comments in there for you to look through as well. But again, just seeing if there's any advances on what you're writing about can be helpful. Thinking about their organization, how they bring in authors and research is really going to help you make those decisions for yourself. So will peer reviews, and so will my comments when you submit them to me. So I hope this was helpful, but please also remember you can email me at any time with drafts and questions, and I'm happy to help in any way. Thanks.